In about 2021, I was able to admit that I was in an abusive relationship and that I struggled to believe that God could love me. So I spoke to someone, they had me read Psalm 139. It was the first time that I really actually understood that God loved me personally, intimately, and passionately. If God loved me, then I deserve to be treated with respect. I needed to have boundaries, all these things. The way I was being treated was not okay, and I should not put up with it. So fast forward to exactly a year ago, something happened and I had to leave immediately, protect the kids. Then I realized I didn't actually miss him. I just missed the idea of who I thought he should be and who he could be, and the idea of this whole perfect family. But then I told myself, you know what? I can't give them two parents, but I can give them one healthy parent. I am happier than I've ever been in my whole life. When I came to that realization that I had to be healthy for my kids, it shifted in me, and I somehow was able to let go of all those beliefs that I had held before. And then now that I've lived it, I can tell you I am a much nicer parent now that I take care of myself. I danced my way through some of the trauma. And I'd put on my headphones and I'd dance like a wild woman. I'd dance out in the forest, and sometimes it would end with me laying on the ground weeping. I did not expect how much one change would just create other changes. And it's almost like I'm a bystander sometimes. Ooh, look at that. I did that. I didn't plan on doing that.
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's conversation. You may have been watching the podcast videos but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you have ever gained value from our videos, from our conversations, it would mean so much to us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now, or even just give us a like. And what that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it allows us to bring in more important guests for you to listen to. And you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's conversation. Welcome to the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast. My name's Sophia from Sacred You. With me today is the beautiful Allison. Welcome, Allison. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really looking forward to having a conversation because, Allison, you're a health coach. This is something that really touches my heart. Your experience. I'm looking forward to getting to know you and all about your whole journey. You are a health coach, a mother of many, a survivor who really transformed your experiences, your pain into a purpose-driven life. And now you empower other women to embrace love. So can you share, Allison, what first led you down this path of healing and to help others?
Okay, it's maybe a bit of a long story. In about 2021, same time I was certified as a holistic nutritionist and health coach, I was able to admit, and I guess I really was just admitting to myself, that I was in an abusive relationship and that I struggled to believe that God could love me. So I spoke to someone, they had me read Psalm 139 very slowly and prayerfully, and it was the first time that I really actually understood that God loved me personally, intimately, and passionately. And that was the foundation and the beginning of my healing, because if God loved me, then I deserve to be treated with respect. I needed to have boundaries, all these things. The way I was being treated was not okay, and I should not put up with it. So I spent many hours learning about narcissism, trying to figure out how to stay in a marriage with a narcissist. Turns out it doesn't work so well. So fast forward to exactly a year ago today. Just realized that it's the anniversary of me leaving. A year ago today, something happened, which I won't talk about, but I had to leave, and I had to leave immediately, protect the kids. I left, and with all the kids, he ended up having to move out. And that propelled me into some pretty heavy grief. Then I realized I didn't actually miss him. I just missed the idea of who I thought he should be and who he could be, and the idea of this whole perfect family. And I was really, a lot of that grief was actually for the kids. But then I told myself, you know what? I can't give them two parents, but I can give them one healthy parent. And that was really what accelerated my healing and my own personal journey, was trying to be as healthy as I could for my kids. So the first thing I asked myself is sleep. I'm a much nicer person, that's a much nicer parent when I get enough sleep. So I prioritize sleep, nutrition, exercise, which is also really my self-care. That's been a real part of my healing, is exercise. And working on mindset, that was really big for me because I always had poor self-worth, a low view of myself. And then, of course, someone basically telling you, not in those words, but making sure that you knew how worthless you are and unworthy of any respect or love for decades, that gets to you. So I would hear his voice in my mind. His voice became my voice, and I had to get rid of all of that and learn to be kind and patient with myself and reframe my thoughts. And yeah, I am happier than I've ever been in my whole life. I am so happy. I'm doing well. People don't even recognize me when they see me because I've lost weight. I carry myself differently. I'm just an entirely different person than I used to be.
Thank you for sharing that. And can I just take a moment to honor you? For standing up for yourself, to fulfilling your purpose, to prioritizing yourself, which is a huge thing in this world, in our world, especially for women. Just really thank you for sharing, Allison. And if I can say, congratulations.
Thank you.
On making that stand. And a lot of women struggle with self-care, but we really know this, Allison, because they think it's selfish, especially those who have children. So why do you think that belief is so hard to shake?
That's a good question. I always believed it too. They say, "Oh, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to fill your own cup and take care of yourself." I'm like, yeah, but, and I think that, but in my mind was coming from a place of, oh, I should be able to do all these things. I should be able to have this love that never wavers. I should be patient no matter what the circumstance. I should. And so I placed all these really high expectations on myself. And really what it came down to is I was denying my humanity and then I think when I realized, like, when I came to that realization that I had to be healthy for my kids, it shifted in me, and I somehow was able to let go of all those beliefs that I had held before. And then now that I've lived it, I can tell you I am a much nicer parent now that I take care of myself. And so when sometimes I'm tempted, like I go to the gym every Friday night. I work out at home other nights. Actually, I'm in karate twice a week, but that's with some of my kids. Sometimes I'm tempted to feel selfish about that. Nope. They're fine. They're not going to miss me for a couple hours. And this is making me a better person. This is making me a better parent. And I deserve this as well. And I think just really accepting that was key.
It is, isn't it? And no matter how busy we are, especially when we have children. And for those people who are entrepreneurs, women who are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs as well, making time for themselves is the absolute key. Thank you. And I'd like to talk a little bit about, if I can, what you've just gone through, like you said a year ago today, because many people go through those big transitions. Many women experience divorce or even become empty nesters. It's huge transitions for themselves, and they feel lost or disconnected. Now, as you were mentioning, you kept having the voice of your ex-partner inside your head and things like that, and you feel disconnected from who they really are. Why do you think it's so common for women to lose touch with themselves?
We are caregivers. We are nurturers. We look for the well-being of others. And I think too often we lose a part of ourselves in that. We just pour ourselves into our family or whatever it is, business, whatever it is we're pouring ourselves into. And in that, I think we lose a bit of who we are But also, again, there's so much pressure. Women need to look this way, women need to act this way. And then we let that influence us too much. And we forget who we are. I know for myself, my husband thought you should be quiet, you should be this, you laugh too is too loud, too funny, inappropriate times, you shouldn't say that, you shouldn't do that. And so I was trying to be this ideal woman according to what he thought, but that's not who I was created to be. So I was denying my God-given identity and purpose. And sorry, husband, God's got a lot more authority than you do. And we don't all look the same, and we don't all act the same, and we don't all have the same strengths. Some of us are a little louder, some of us a little quieter, some are a little silly. And I'm not saying that we should be rude and just act completely out of the, make people uncomfortable, but maybe there is room for making people uncomfortable at times, depending on the situation, making people grow a little bit, get out of their shells. But yeah, it's back to your question. It's just really a lot of pouring ourselves into others and also denying who we are, trying to be this ideal of whatever it is. And then after what we've poured ourselves into is gone, feels like part of us is gone, and we have to rediscover who we really are.
Totally agree with that. No matter how long it takes and what steps that we go through, it's really discovering who we are and letting go of other people's perceptions and letting go of trying to please other people to be who they think we should be instead of who we are.
And sometimes it's messy and there is trial and error, and it takes time.
Takes time.
Yeah.
Takes time to discover who our true self is. And then it takes time to empower that, go on that journey. And for you, Allison, in your journey, how does integrating your faith, and for anyone, whatever faith that may be, whether that's God's unconditional love or whatever faith that is, but how does integrating your faith make your approach different to other coaching methods or other personal development experiences that we can go on?
I don't push my faith, but I'm very open about it. I'm very honest about my own personal experience. And I recognize that not everyone will align with that, and that's fine. But if I'm sharing my story, I feel like my faith and what God has done in my life is such a huge part of that story that I can't deny it. And I know that when I share my story, it resonates with so many others. I've spoken to, if I'm on a call with a woman and you can see she's a little bit guarded. And then I say, this is my story. And then just her whole demeanor relaxes. She's, oh, you get it. And so I feel like sharing my story is important. And honestly, so many women who have been through abuse or are still in it do not want to speak about it. And I respect that everyone deals with it in their own way, but I can speak about it, and I do speak about it. And so I feel like it's important to share that, and every part of that, the messy parts, the good parts, and the parts where like God was such a huge part of that for me, and he still is.
Yeah, he would be. I'm just taking a moment just to take that in, because it's when you have that faith, that unending faith that other people can't question, that it really does help. Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned a little while ago about mindset was part of your self-care. You really have to work on your mindset. So what role does mindset play in lasting transformation, especially for women who think that they've tried everything?
True transformation starts on the inside. And if we want to get healthy, you can follow whatever program you want. You can follow whatever diet you want. You can tick all the boxes. You can force yourself to do these things. As a neurodivergent woman, forcing myself to do things is very difficult. And so part of that is mindset. So growth-oriented mindset. So instead of beating myself up when I face challenges or did things that I deemed to not be well done, I would say, okay, what can I learn from this experience? And how can I bring that learning and understanding into the next situation that might arise? Recognizing that nobody does things perfectly the first time. And one of the things was Well, not having negative self-talk. You can't do anything when you're beating yourself up. Accepting your faults and celebrating your wins. That's big too. I remember, I think I did a video on when I could do my first push-up, like an actual normal push-up. Like I did a push-up. It's been so long since I could do one push-up. I'm up to 7 now. And just being open and honest about the wins. And some people might be like, woohoo, you did a push-up. But to me, it was big. And celebrating the wins with other people is so important. It really just propels you on your journey, not to be ashamed, but to just go out there and in all our imperfections, just strive for moving forward. And the journey, I always say, don't look at the end result, because I always looked at the end like I am whatever, 50 pounds or whatever it was, overweight. I see that end goal and it's so big, and then I get discouraged. What's the point? But enjoy the journey, enjoy every step, celebrate the wins. And it is very important, in my opinion, we're talking about reaching our health goals and being sustainable in those, is to understand our individuality and tailor our health around, and our health habits, exercise, nutrition, whatever it is around that. I do things a little bit differently than probably a lot of people, and it works for me. So I'm sticking with it. But everyone has to figure out what works for them. And that is really key, just making it part of your lifestyle in an enjoyable way, and not just, oh, I have to do this, but making it part of who you are.
Yes, part of our, as you said, part of our lifestyle, and do what works for you. No, you have to do what works for other people when you're your own unique self. And thank you for sharing that. Now, you talked about steps. So what is one small step that a woman can take today to begin reconnecting with herself after years of feeling lost?
I think a really good step is talking to somebody. It could be a coach, a counselor, a friend, sister, someone you just know and you feel connected to somehow, and sharing your journey and admitting where you are and asking for feedback and sharing your goals. I think just getting it open and talking through that and having some accountability is a really good first step. We can get out of our heads, and we're more likely to act and to have that support too.
Yes, especially if we are talking to other people like yourself, like Allison. So for anyone who is watching or listening, just do click on the links below and reach out to Allison, because as we've been sharing, you've been through a journey, Allison. You've been through, you've got that experience of what it's like to live in an abusive relationship, and how you've now come out on the other side. So you definitely are there to be able to help other women to do the same thing, I think. And how can someone begin to identify their unique strengths, especially if they feel that they don't have any?
I think the first thing we need to do is silence our negative self-talk, because we'll start to identify the strengths, and then some thought, no, you're not actually that great at that because, and then we need to silence that and really listen. It's another instance where you can talk to friends, family. What strengths do you see in me? Sometimes other people have good insight, but not to silence our inner voice. I think what comes from the inside is really important. And we can look back on things we've done well. If someone comes to ask us for advice, what is that in regards to? And often what we enjoy aligns with our strengths. So what do we really enjoy? What lights us up? What have we been successful at in the past? What excites us? That's, again, just our passion and our joy aligning with our strengths, because they so often go hand in hand. And then what doesn't work well for us? What do we have difficulty doing? Because obviously our strengths are probably going to be the opposite of that. And that will give us some clues as well.
We don't always look at that, doing the things that we don't like doing, and we find the opposite for what we are, things that we like doing, the things that we can do. A lot of time, women in general, people, and even men, people in general, beat ourselves up for the things that we don't like doing. I should be doing that. I should be doing, rather than turning it around and going, okay, I don't like doing that because I love doing this.
Yeah, part of this self-discovery journey, I'll share a little bit here. I thought I should be a copywriter. Like, I was a stay-at-home mom and I had done some coaching on and off, but I was not in the mindset to be coaching anyone. I was just really struggling with the grief and the transition. And I thought, oh, I love to write. I like psychology. I enjoy persuasive writing. I should be a copywriter. So I poured myself into that. And then I just hit a block. Like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is not me. And then that's one benefit of having ADHD is I think it's helped me in my career path, because if we don't want to do something, it's really hard to do it. So I got a block there and I ended up with a coaching client kind of against my will and by mistake. And it was like, oh, this is what I was made for. This aligns with who I am. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I love. This is where I find fulfillment. And so I just dropped the writing. Like, I can, whatever I've learned with the writing, I can use in my own business. I went back to coaching. So that's why I mentioned too, trial and error. And we might think that our strengths lie in one area. And yeah, I had some strengths in that area, but it wasn't really who I was. And so it's okay. I felt a little bit bad about all the time I'd spent working on writing. It's not time wasted. And it even helped me find my actual purpose. So that's good.
Congratulations. And things like that happen so much. We think we should be doing this, but then we get the guidance from whatever you believe, the universe, or God, from our higher self, that no, this is where we're meant to go. This is your purpose. And it, as you said, it's those trial and errors. We have interest in things, but our purpose lies in there, that we get really joy from. And for, like yourself, Allison, for women of faith who have that deep faith in God or whatever they believe in, what's a spiritual practice that they can add to their self-care to really stay grounded in that experience, in God's love?
As a Christian, I would say reading the Bible prayerfully. And for anyone, prayerful meditation and forest bathing. God often speaks through his creation. And there's something very grounding about just being out in the forest and just calming our minds and listening to the breeze, and smelling the flowers. And if you have plant knowledge, tasting plants, feeling the ground underneath your feet. And that was part of my healing. I danced my way through some of the trauma. I went out in the night, and we live out in the country. So I have that luxury. No one thought I was crazy. My kids couldn't even see what I was doing. And I'd put on my headphones and I'd dance like a wild woman. I'd dance out in the forest. And sometimes it would end with me laying on the ground weeping. And a couple of times I was out there and the northern lights started to creep out and they were dancing with me and we were dancing together. And there's one time I actually physically felt some of the trauma just release from my body. So I don't know if you call that I'd call that a spiritual practice. And for me, it was really powerful.
Yes, it would have been. Forest bathing is an incredible opportunity and an incredible experience. So again, thank you for sharing that. And I could just imagine dancing like a wild woman, connecting to nature, and what an opportunity to allow any trauma, any memory that we have suppressed in our bodies to release in nature, giving it back to the earth, giving it back to the world. Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And if you could go back, Allison, and tell your younger self who was trapped in that survival mode just one truth, what would that be?
That she's loved. I don't think I ever accepted that as a child. And that would have changed everything.
Always that deep experience that we are loved and that we are love. Experience it and allow it to happen. Yeah. So, Allison, tell us, what has surprised you the most about your healing journey?
I think the ripple effect. I did not expect how much one change would just create other changes. And it's almost like I'm a bystander sometimes. Ooh, look at that. I did that. I didn't plan on doing that. But you think if you put in whatever, a pound of energy into this one step, this one change, and then you have to put another pound of energy into that step and that change. But what you don't anticipate is it all builds up and it affects everything else. So that's been a very pleasant surprise. And then, yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Yes, the domino effect, the ripple thing, that we think we're focusing on one aspect, but we don't realize how much it can affect our entire life or other things in our life. Tell us more about what you offer. And for women, tell us what you, as a coach, in helping other women empower themselves to find their love, to get their life back. What do you offer?
First thing I want to say is I offer a very non-judgmental space.
Yes.
And I recognize that everyone's journeys are different. Everyone's at a different place in their journey. And sometimes, and some of us will heal and grow we're all heal and grow at different rates. And that is completely valid. And when I'm coaching a client, I do not, there's the educational piece. And depending on what they want, there's programs they can go through or coaching packages or just individual coaching sessions. I also offer like free mini coaching sessions. Some people call them consultation calls. They're longer than that, half-hour free coaching. But when I meet with a client, I don't dictate what they need to do. That's entirely up to them. I can help them. I can educate them as much as they want, but I want to know what their vision is. I want to know what their goals are, and whatever is on their heart and on their mind, we work with that. And the answers lie within us most of the time, especially when it comes to making changes in our lives. We just sometimes need help getting those out. And there's no shame in that. I have a coach myself. She helps me too. So we're all human. We all need that little bit of extra help. And I'm just here to help women on their journey wherever they are with whatever priorities they have.
Yes, what they're needing to do. And as you said, it's totally true. A lot of the times, just about all the times, the answers are within us. We just need someone else who's outside of us to see those answers. And there is definitely no shame in getting coaches around, because we need that outside perspective to really be able to help us. So thank you ever so much. And we will be putting all your links below. So for anyone who is watching or listening, do click on those links and reach out to Allison. And as you said, Allison, thank you. You just have even that first initial conversation. That can also be very helpful as well.
Yeah.
And if someone is listening today and that they feel stuck still, and they've been in this survival mode for years, and I hear that I can quite often, you're doing the same thing year after year. But what is one thing that you would like her, if a woman is listening today, what is one thing you'd like her to hear today?
Only one thing. one thing would be just to find one change to make. And I share this example sometimes. Like I work out in the evening, but I have a rebounder and I know I retain water. Like my face is usually puffy in the morning. Like I should really be rebounding in the morning, but the idea of 10 or 20 minutes of exercise in the morning, I'm not a morning exercise person. But I told myself I make coffee. It takes 3 minutes for my coffee to brew. I can rebound for 3 minutes. I can commit to that. And that's sustainable. And so that's just what I did. So that just shows you how small those changes can be. Just find one thing. And it might even be just that first step of just talking to somebody, just to help you gain that clarity and just make that first step on the journey. Because sometimes that's the hardest step to make. And the other thing I would say is I believe everyone is created with purpose and for a purpose, and we are all uniquely beautiful. And when we try and be somebody else, we really rob ourselves of joy and we rob the world of our brilliance.
Thank you, Allison. It's been a wonder. But before we go, is there anything else that you would like to share? Is there any other question that I could have asked you?
I think we really covered a lot of them. My main points, my main mission is just helping people understand their individual beauty, celebrate their individual differences, and know that there is hope and there's healing and there are people there to help. And if you do decide to do one of those free coaching sessions, there's absolutely no pressure. I'm just here to help. That's what I really want, is I would really love to see change in people.
You are an inspiration. And again, I'd just like to honor you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For what you've gone through on your journey, and now that you've come out to the other side, it's a wonderful inspiration, and that you help others, help other women. So I can see the compassion and the love in your heart. So thank you for joining us today on Pathways to Wellbeing.
Thank you for having me. It was enjoyable.
Thank you for joining us today for our conversation with Allison, who shared her journey on how she was able to overcome the effects of abuse and unworthiness, to step into her own unique power, and also to help other women reclaim their lives. Please do click on the links below to find out more that everything that Allison has to offer. And for more empowering